Diana Washington had been mopping casino floors for 1,247 nights. Tonight was different. As billionaire casino owner Vincent Sterling watched from his security office on the 47th floor, the night cleaner stopped in front of slot machine number 73, checked her old digital watch, and whispered to an elderly woman, "Ma'am, this machine will pay out $50,000 in exactly 17 minutes. But you didn't hear it from me." Vincent Sterling nearly choked on his 25-year-old Macallan Scotch. The amber liquid burned his throat as he leaned forward in his Italian leather chair, eyes fixed on the high-definition security monitor. The elderly woman, wearing a faded floral dress and clutching a worn leather purse, was inserting her last $20 bill into machine number 73. Diana moved on to the next row of slots with her cleaning cart, the wheels squeaking softly across the casino's polished marble floor. Vincent checked his $18,000 Rolex Submariner. 11:30 in the evening. If the cleaning lady was right, the jackpot would hit at 11:47 exactly. For 15 years, Vincent had built the Golden Empire Casino into Las Vegas's most profitable establishment. He knew every algorithm, every payout percentage, every statistical probability down to the third decimal point. His father, Giovanni Sterling, had started with a small card room in downtown Vegas in the 1970s, taking bets from construction workers and cab drivers who dreamed of striking it rich. But Vincent had transformed the family business into a billion-dollar empire that employed over 3,000 people and generated more revenue than some small countries. The Golden Empire sprawled across 40 acres of prime Las Vegas Strip real estate, featuring 4,000 slot machines, 200 table games, a luxury hotel with 2,500 rooms, and restaurants run by world-famous chefs. What he didn't know was how a night cleaner, making $12.50 an hour, could predict the unpredictable with mathematical precision that defied every law of probability he understood. Diana continued her routine, methodically mopping between the rows of glowing machines. Her movements were precise, almost mathematical in their efficiency. She paused at machine number 156, cleaned around it for exactly 90 seconds while humming softly under her breath, then moved to machine number 203. Vincent noticed she spent different amounts of time at each machine, following some invisible pattern that only she could see. Sometimes she would pause and seem to listen to the machines, her head tilted slightly as if decoding a secret language hidden in the electronic chirps and mechanical whirs. The casino floor was quieter at this hour, but far from empty. Only the most dedicated gamblers remained, their faces illuminated by the hypnotic glow of spinning reels and flashing lights. The air was thick with cigarette smoke despite the state-of-the-art ventilation system, and the constant sound of electronic beeps, chimes, and the occasional celebration of a small win created a symphony of hope and desperation. Diana moved among them like a ghost, invisible to players focused on their next big win, their next chance to change their lives with a single pull of a lever or push of a button. But Vincent was watching her every move now with laser-like intensity, studying her through the bank of high-definition monitors that covered an entire wall of his security office. Each camera could zoom in close enough to read the denomination on a poker chip or catch the subtle hand signals that might indicate cheating. The system could track chip movements, detect card counting, identify known criminals from facial recognition databases shared across the industry, and analyze betting patterns to flag suspicious activity. He leaned forward in his chair, studying the monitors with newfound fascination. His security system was state-of-the-art, installed by the same company that designed surveillance networks for government agencies. High-definition cameras were positioned to capture every angle, every transaction, every suspicious movement on the casino floor. The system recorded everything in 4K resolution and stored the footage for 6 months, creating a digital archive of every moment in his establishment. For 3 years, Diana Washington had been part of the furniture, as unremarkable as the carpet beneath the slot machines or the artificial plants that decorated the casino floor. She arrived every night at 10 o'clock sharp, driving a 15-year-old Honda Civic, with 180,000 miles on the odometer and a dent in the rear bumper from a parking lot accident she couldn't afford to fix. She parked in the employee lot next to luxury cars owned by dealers and pit bosses, then changed into her uniform in the women's locker room. Her routine never varied by even a minute. She clocked in at exactly 10 o'clock, picked up her cleaning supplies from the janitor's closet, and began her systematic cleaning of the casino floor. She spoke to no one except when spoken to first, keeping her head down and her voice soft and respectful. During her 30-minute break at 2 in the morning, she would sit alone in the employee cafeteria, eating a sandwich from a brown paper bag while reading paperback books she checked out from the Clark County Library. Vincent had noticed the books during his occasional walks through the employee areas, always scientific or mathematical texts that seemed far above the reading level of a typical custodial worker. She clocked out at 6 in the morning every day, never a minute early or late, with the precision of an atomic clock. Her time card showed perfect attendance for 3 years. No sick days, no vacation time taken, no tardiness. She was the model employee that most managers dream of having, reliable and invisible. Vincent had built his empire by noticing details others missed, reading people like open books, understanding subtle tells that revealed weakness, strength, or opportunity. He could spot a card counter from across the room just by observing their betting patterns and body language. He could identify a problem gambler by watching how they interacted with the machines, the desperation in their movements, the way they checked their phone for bank account balances. He could read the emotional state of high rollers and know exactly when to offer them comps, credit, or a private room to keep them gambling. How had he missed this? How had a woman with extraordinary analytical abilities remained invisible for over 3 years? On the monitor, Diana paused at machine number 41. A Wheel of Fortune-themed slot that had been installed 6 months ago during the casino's latest renovation project. She glanced around quickly to ensure no one was watching, then cleaned a small smudge from the screen with extra care, her movements deliberate and focused. Vincent zoomed in on her face using the high-definition cameras. Her lips were moving slightly as if calculating something complex in her head. Her eyes tracked across the machine's display with the focused intensity of someone solving a mathematical equation. She spent exactly 63 seconds at this machine before moving on to machine number 42, where she spent exactly half that time. Vincent picked up his secure phone and called his head of security. "Tommy, I need the complete employee files on Diana Washington, night cleaning crew." "The black lady? Sure thing, boss. Any particular reason I should know about? Just do it. I want her complete background check, references, employment history, everything we have on file. Also, check with human resources about her original application and interview notes. I want to know everything about this woman." Vincent continued watching Diana work while waiting for the information. She approached each machine differently, as if she had developed a unique relationship with every piece of equipment on the floor. Some got quick wipe downs and she moved on. Others received more attention, and Vincent noticed she seemed to be listening to something, perhaps the electronic sounds machines made during their operational cycles. At machine number 67, a progressive jackpot game linked to other casinos across the state, she pressed her ear close to the cabinet for several seconds like a doctor listening to a patient's heartbeat. His phone buzzed with an incoming call. "Boss, this is really weird. Diana Washington's file is pretty thin for someone who's been here 3 years. Previous job was listed as research assistant, but no details about where or what kind of research. No college information listed anywhere, which is unusual because we usually ask for education background even for custodial positions. Emergency contact is her daughter, Kaisha Washington, lives in Henderson. Clean driving record, no criminal background, passed the drug test with flying colors." "What about her references?" "That's the weird part, boss. Her references were pretty generic. 2 people listed, but when I tried to call the numbers last year for her annual review, one was disconnected, and the other guy said he barely remembered her. Also, her address on the application. I drove by there once for a different matter. It's a rough neighborhood, subsidized housing complex called Desert View Apartments. Not exactly the kind of place where you'd expect someone with advanced technical skills to live." Vincent hung up and continued watching the monitors. He noticed something else now that made his pulse quicken. Diana seemed to time her cleaning activities around the machine's internal cycles. She would finish with one machine just as its random number generator reset, then move to the next one that was reaching a similar point in its algorithmic sequence. It was like conducting an orchestra of electronic devices, knowing exactly when each instrument would play its note. The elderly woman at machine number 73 was now down to her last few dollars. Vincent could see the desperation in her body language as she fed bill after bill into the machine, each spin bringing disappointment. Her purse lay open beside her, and Vincent could see it was nearly empty, except for a few crumpled tissues and what looked like a prescription bottle for heart medication. Diana was now 3 rows away, methodically working her way back toward machine number 73. She moved with purpose but without any apparent urgency, maintaining the same steady pace she had used for 3 years. To anyone watching casually, she was just another invisible service worker doing her job. But Vincent was beginning to see something else entirely. At 11:47 exactly, machine number 73 erupted in lights and sirens. The jackpot alarm was deafening, drowning out all other sounds on the casino floor. $50,000. The elderly woman collapsed into tears of joy, her hands shaking uncontrollably as coins poured into the metal tray with a metallic cascade that drew attention from across the entire gaming floor. Other players turned to stare, some offering congratulations, others with expressions of envy and renewed hope for their own fortunes. Security guards appeared immediately to verify the win and begin the payout process. Diana didn't even look up from her mopping. She continued cleaning around machine number 156 as if nothing had happened, her expression neutral and focused on her work. But Vincent caught something in the security camera feed, the slightest hint of a smile crossing her face before she composed herself again. The impossibility of what he'd witnessed hit Vincent like a physical blow to the chest. In 15 years of running casinos, watching thousands of hours of gameplay, analyzing millions of spins and deals, studying every aspect of probability and chance, he'd never seen anyone predict a jackpot with that level of precision. Professional gamblers spent years trying to find even the smallest edge. Statisticians and mathematicians worked for months to find patterns in casino games. Even the programmers who designed the systems couldn't predict when a specific machine would pay out. Yet somehow, a night janitor making barely above minimum wage had just called a $50,000 jackpot down to the exact minute. He activated his earpiece, connecting to his security team. "Tony, bring the cleaning lady to my office, now." "Sir?" Tony's voice crackled through the secure communication system. "Which one?" "We got 3 members of the cleaning crew on duty tonight. The black woman, Diana Washington. Bring her up quietly, and Tony, treat her with respect. No intimidation tactics, no rough handling. Just ask her politely to come upstairs for a conversation." "Copy that, sir. Should I tell her what it's about?" "No, just say I'd like to speak with her. And Tony, make sure she brings whatever she has with her. Don't let her stop at her locker or anything like that." Vincent stood and walked to his private bar, a custom-built mahogany cabinet stocked with bottles worth more than most people's cars. He poured himself 3 fingers of 25-year-old Macallan Scotch, a bottle that cost $3,000 and was reserved for only the most important occasions. His hands were shaking slightly, something that hadn't happened since the early days when he was building the casino and every decision could make or break his future. In his world, information was power. Knowledge was the difference between profit and loss, between success and failure. Someone had just demonstrated knowledge that could revolutionize or completely destroy his entire industry. He needed to understand what he was dealing with before deciding how to proceed. The Golden Empire's executive offices occupied the top 3 floors of the hotel tower, accessed by a private elevator that required a special key card. Vincent's personal office took up half of the 47th floor, with floor-to-ceiling windows offering a panoramic view of the Las Vegas Strip. The office was designed to intimidate and impress, filled with symbols of wealth and power that reminded visitors exactly who they were dealing with. 25 minutes later, Diana Washington stood in Vincent's penthouse office, still wearing her blue custodial uniform with the Golden Empire logo embroidered on the pocket. The fabric was slightly damp from her work, and she carried the faint scent of industrial cleaning supplies. Her graying hair was pulled back in a neat bun secured with simple bobby pins that had seen better days. Her calloused hands rested calmly at her sides, but her eyes held an intelligence that Vincent had never noticed in 3 years of employment. There was something else in those eyes, too, a wariness that spoke of experiences with powerful men who held her fate in their hands, who could change her life with a word or a whim. She had learned to be cautious around those with power over her existence. The office was a monument to excess and success, designed by a team of interior designers who had charged more for their services than Diana earned in 5 years. Floor-to-ceiling windows revealed the city's neon heartbeat below, the endless stream of traffic and tourists feeding the machine that had made Vincent wealthy beyond most people's wildest dreams. A mahogany desk that had cost more than most people's annual salaries dominated the center of the room. Original paintings by masters hung on the walls. A Picasso worth $15 million. A Van Gogh valued at $20 million. A Monet that had been purchased at auction for $8 million. She had cleaned this office hundreds of times, but never while Vincent was present. Never while being studied like a laboratory specimen under a microscope. "Diana," Vincent began, loosening his silk tie that cost more than she earned in a week. He gestured toward one of the leather chairs that surrounded a conversation area near the windows. "Please sit down. Make yourself comfortable." She remained standing, her posture straight and dignified despite the obvious disparity in their circumstances. "I'd prefer to stand, sir, if that's acceptable to you." "As you wish." He moved to the bar and poured himself another scotch. "Can I offer you anything to drink? Water, coffee, perhaps something stronger?" "No thank you, sir. I'm still on duty." Vincent studied her carefully, looking for signs of nervousness or deception. Most employees fidgeted in his presence, intimidated by wealth and power. Diana stood still as stone, her expression neutral but alert. "I need to ask you something, Diana, and I need complete honesty." "Your job doesn't depend on your answer. I'm trying to understand something I witnessed tonight." Diana's expression didn't change, but Vincent caught slight tensing around her eyes. "Yes, sir." "How did you know machine number 73 would hit tonight?" For a long moment, Diana said nothing. She looked out at the city lights twinkling like earthbound stars, then back at Vincent. Finally, she reached into her uniform pocket and pulled out a small worn notebook held together with rubber bands. The cover was faded blue, edges worn smooth by countless handlings. "Mr. Sterling," she said, voice steady and clear with hints of southern roots and careful education. "I've been tracking your machines for 3 years, 2 months, and 16 days. Every spin cycle, every payout pattern, every algorithm adjustment. Your machines aren't as random as you believe." Vincent's eyes narrowed. He set down his crystal tumbler carefully. "That's impossible. We use military-grade random number generators. The best programmers designed our systems. Each machine undergoes monthly security audits. The Gaming Commission inspects everything quarterly." Diana opened her notebook to a page covered in complex mathematical formulas, charts, and diagrams. The margins were filled with tiny, precise handwriting in multiple colors. Blue for calculations, red for corrections, green for observations, black for conclusions. "Random number generators aren't truly random, sir. They follow pseudorandom sequences based on seed values and algorithms. Your maintenance team resets those seeds every Tuesday at 3:17 in the morning during system backup. I've been documenting the patterns." The scotch glass trembled in Vincent's hand. "How could you know that schedule? That information is classified." "Because I watch, I listen, I learn." Diana turned a page, revealing detailed charts tracking machine performance over months. Machine number 73 had gone 2,847 spins without major payout. Based on your random number generator cycling pattern, volatility index, time of day affecting electronic performance, ambient temperature, and algorithm configuration last updated August 15th. It was mathematically inevitable it would hit between 11:45 and 11:50 tonight. Vincent moved closer to examine the notebook. The calculations were extraordinarily complex, utilizing advanced mathematical concepts he recognized but couldn't comprehend. Standard deviations, probability matrices, algorithmic analysis that would challenge computer science professors. "These formulas, this level of analysis, where did you learn this?" Diana closed the notebook carefully. "Massachusetts Institute of Technology, sir. I have a PhD in applied mathematics and computer science, with specializations in algorithmic analysis, statistical modeling, and machine learning applications." The words hit Vincent like a physical blow. He stumbled backward, mind reeling. Everything he thought he knew about this woman had been turned upside down. "That's impossible." "You're a janitor." "Yes, sir, I am." Diana's voice carried no shame, only quiet strength. "I've been a janitor for 3 years, 4 months, and 16 days. Before that, I was unemployed for 8 years, 3 months, and 22 days. Vincent felt the floor shift beneath his feet. A PhD from MIT, one of the most prestigious universities in the world. Standing in his office wearing a custodial uniform, making minimum wage. But why? With your education capabilities, you could work anywhere. Google, Microsoft, NASA. You could start your own company, patent algorithms, revolutionize industries. You could be making millions. Could I? Diana's eyes flashed with controlled anger. Work for tech companies that wouldn't hire me because of my age, gender, and race? Apply to universities that passed me over because I didn't fit their image? Try to get funding when venture capitalists wouldn't take a 53-year-old black woman seriously? Vincent felt uncomfortable chill. He'd built his empire reading people, understanding human nature. But he completely misread the woman working under his nose for years. I tried for 8 years after graduation, Diana continued. 8 years of rejection letters, closed doors, condescending smiles. Do you know what it's like having degrees from the most prestigious university and being told you're not what they're looking for, or not the right cultural fit? The silence stretched between them, heavy with implications. Vincent thought about his hiring practices, unconscious assumptions about worth and capability. I presented research at conferences where people assumed I was there to serve coffee. I applied for positions where they offered entry-level jobs despite my qualifications. I pitched algorithms to investors who asked if I was there to clean offices. So you became a janitor. I became a survivor. Diana's voice softened, revealing vulnerability. My daughter needed food, clothes, school supplies. My mother needed medicine for diabetes that cost $400 monthly. Pride doesn't pay rent, Mr. Sterling. Sometimes survival means swallowing pride and doing whatever work you can find. Vincent moved to his desk, thoughts churning. The calculations in your notebook, you could revolutionize the gaming industry. Patent those algorithms. Start consulting firms. Why haven't you used this knowledge to gamble? You could have made fortunes. Diana smiled sadly. Because that would be stealing, sir. These are your machines, your algorithms, your property. I may understand them better than the programmers who designed them, but they don't belong to me. I was raised believing that just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. Then why help that old woman tonight? Because she reminded me of my mother. Diana's voice caught slightly. Her name is Margaret Chen. She's 73, lives alone on fixed income. She's been coming here every Friday night for 6 months, always playing the same $20 from Social Security, always losing. Tonight was her birthday. She told the attendant it was her last visit because she couldn't afford to come anymore. She said this was her only social interaction since her husband died of COVID. Vincent felt something unfamiliar in his chest. Guilt, perhaps. You've been tracking other patterns too, haven't you? Other players? Diana nodded. There's Marcus Rodriguez, who plays machine number 47 every Tuesday after his hospital shift. He's trying to win money for his daughter's leukemia treatment that insurance won't cover. Carmen Santos, a waitress who comes on lunch breaks hoping to pay student loans. Robert Thompson, a veteran who plays penny slots because it's his only social interaction since returning from Afghanistan with post-traumatic stress disorder. And you help them? When I can, small amounts. Nothing that would hurt your casino or draw attention. $20 wins, $50 payouts. Just enough to give them hope, to keep them from giving up entirely. Vincent stared at this remarkable woman who'd been invisible for 3 years. You realize what you're telling me? You're confessing to manipulation of gaming equipment. These are serious crimes. I'm telling you the truth, sir. What you do with it is up to you. Vincent walked to his window, looking down at the empire he'd built. Every flashing light represented millions in revenue. His casino took money from people who could barely afford it, while he lived in luxury above their struggles. For the first time in decades, he saw his business through different eyes. Not as entertainment, but as a machine feeding on desperation and false hope. Diana, he said without turning around. I have a proposition, sir. I want to offer you a position. Head of Analytics and Gaming Systems. 7-figure salary. Full benefits. Stock options. Whatever you need. Diana was quiet so long that Vincent finally turned around. She was staring at him with an unreadable expression. Why? She asked finally. Because you're brilliant. Because you've demonstrated more insight into my business than my entire executive team. Because I'd be a fool not to recognize genius when it's standing in front of me. And because I'm black? The directness caught Vincent off guard. What? Are you offering this job because you feel guilty because you want to look progressive? Because having a black woman in leadership would be good for your image? Or because you genuinely believe I'm qualified? Vincent met her gaze steadily. All of the above, if I'm honest. But mostly because I'd be an idiot not to recognize talent. And because I think you could help me build something better. Diana smiled then, transforming her entire face. Mr. Sterling, I appreciate the offer, but I can't accept it. Why not? Because I have a better idea. Diana opened her notebook to a section Vincent hadn't seen. The pages contained elaborate plans, flowcharts, mathematical models that looked like blueprints for revolution. What if instead of just making your casino more profitable, we made it more fair? What if we could create a system that still generates revenue but gives players genuine chances to win? The pages showed plans for a completely different kind of gaming system. Algorithms that provided better odds for small players. Loyalty programs that actually benefited customers rather than just extracting maximum profit. Mathematical models that could increase player satisfaction while maintaining house profitability. Systems that identified problem gamblers and provided help rather than encouragement to continue betting. You want to help gamblers win more? I want to help them lose less, Diana corrected. Your current system is designed to extract maximum profit from people who can least afford it. What if we could create something still profitable for you but gave players real chances? What if we could make gambling actually fun instead of predatory? Vincent studied the proposals carefully. They were elegant, sophisticated, revolutionary. They would require rebuilding entire systems, retraining staff, changing the fundamental culture of the casino industry. This could change everything. The entire industry. Yes, sir, it could. But why would you want to do this? Why help the casino that's been underpaying you for 3 years? Diana closed the notebook and looked directly into Vincent's eyes. Because I've spent 1,247 nights watching people lose money they can't afford to lose. I've seen families destroyed, dreams crushed, hope extinguished. I've watched good people spiral into addiction because your machines are designed to exploit human psychology. If I can use my knowledge to make even a small difference, then maybe those 3 years of mopping floors weren't wasted. Vincent felt something fundamental shift inside him. For the first time in years, he was seeing his business through someone else's eyes, and he didn't like what he saw. What would you need? Partnership, not employment. Equal say in system design. Complete transparency in operations. And a guarantee that we implement comprehensive programs to help problem gamblers. That could cost millions. It could save lives. The conviction in her voice was absolute. Vincent had built his fortune by recognizing opportunity when he saw it. This woman wasn't just an opportunity. She was a revolution waiting to happen. Diana Washington, he said, extending his hand. Would you like to change Las Vegas? She shook his hand firmly, her calloused fingers gripping his manicured ones. Mr. Sterling, I thought you'd never ask. 6 months later, the Golden Empire Casino made headlines nationwide. Not for record profits or celebrity visits, but for implementing the most player-friendly gaming algorithms in Las Vegas history. The Fair Play Initiative, designed by Dr. Diana Washington, revolutionized the industry, creating a new model that balanced profitability with ethical responsibility. Margaret Chun won enough money to visit her grandchildren in Seattle for the first time in 5 years. Marcus Rodriguez saved enough for his daughter's experimental leukemia treatment. Carmen Santos paid off her student loans and returned to school to finish her nursing degree. Robert Thompson found community and purpose in a veterans support group that Diana helped establish with casino funding. The casino floor still glowed with spinning lights and ringing bells. But now, for the first time in its history, the house wasn't the only one winning. Players had genuine chances. Addiction counselors worked the floor offering help instead of encouragement. And families weren't destroyed by predatory algorithms designed to extract maximum profit. Diana never returned to mopping floors, but she kept her old notebook as a reminder. Inside the front cover, she'd written a new inscription. Sometimes the most important discoveries happen when the world thinks you're invisible. Vincent Sterling learned that true wealth isn't measured in dollars, but in the lives you touch and improve. And occasionally, if you're very lucky, the person who changes your world completely is the one you never noticed was there all along, working quietly in the shadows. As Diana often told her daughter, who was now studying mathematics at MIT on a full scholarship funded by the Sterling Foundation, "Baby, sometimes you have to clean the floors before you can change the ceiling." And in Las Vegas, where fortunes are made and lost every single day, Diana Washington had done something far more valuable than winning money or achieving personal success. She had won respect, dignity, and the chance to prove that brilliance knows no color, no gender, and no uniform. The mathematical genius had been there all along, mopping floors and remaining invisible to those who should have recognized her extraordinary capabilities. The only thing that changed was who was finally paying attention and willing to see beyond surface appearances. If this story of hidden talent and second chances touched your heart, remember that extraordinary people are everywhere around us. Sometimes they're just waiting for someone to see past the surface and recognize the genius within. Subscribe to our channel for more stories that prove intelligence, determination, and character can overcome any obstacle.